17th, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I am Gerissar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Did you forget your name for a second?
No, I the other day was like, I want to change that to something else, and I'm like, crap, I forgot to change it. So I was like, yeah.
Well, fair enough. I'm Bigmoran. At this point, I might be AI generated. I'm not sure. And who knows where Jake is? Again, he's fighting mini battles always, fighting demons.
He is traveling right now. He let us know
Oh.
he wasn't able to make it. He is traveling home from a work conference that sounded like a not so fun work conference, but I'm sure he'd be nicely rested up for our last episode of the year, which is going to be happening not quite in 2 weeks from now, but on the 30th instead of the 31st. But that's fine. But hey, let's talk about today. Let's talk about now. Let's talk about what we have been up to and what the burning topics are on our minds today.
Yes.
I know you. So AI, like you've been talking about this before. You were building a website by yourself using some AI program to help you do the Java, all the scripting and everything you needed to do.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that you might be AI generated means that you've fallen down to like some deep well of website programming and you've lost yourself.
Well, so yes, and yes. So I'll tell you what I've been trying to do today.
All right.
And this is a colossal mountain to climb, but someone needs to climb it, okay?
All right.
So, when there's this massive forum post called Midnight Development Notes. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, every time there's a major patch or major an expansion, there's this thread.
Yep.
The problem with this thread is that there will be updates, with subsequent builds, but the main post never truly gets updated with those subsequent updates, if that makes sense. So, like, for instance, in the initial post, it might say, Mage, Frostbolt buffed by 25%. Then, maybe there's, in a future build, a change to Frostbolt. It's like, Frostbolt nerfed by 50%. It's like, well, wait a second, okay? Those changes aren't reflected in the initial patch notes, and that's what I'm trying to fix today.
Oh.
And yes, but it has been, my God, that forum post with the midnight patch notes is insanely long. It has like over 500,000 characters or something like this. So that is a lot of information to parse.
I'm sorry, but I like it. I like how they do it that, because I remember when what they do is they chain every time they do a new build, they add another patch note into the thread, and they just create this giant thread of patch build after patch build after patch build. Versus before, I'm pretty sure before they've been doing this for years now. But I want to say, like, let's say Cataclysm or Mist of Pandaria, it was its own patch note, right? They didn't chain them, and it just became, and they just pinned that new thread. So there wasn't like the continuing rolling builds into one thread. It was individual threads.
Yeah, I can see it being good in both ways, but like, for instance, like I've been making these class previews, and I just made the mystery for one last week with Mystical, and I hop in the call with Mystical. I open up the patch notes, and I go to the Mistweaver section, and like, okay, this ability has been removed. This ability has been removed. He's like, yep. And we start talking. He's like, oh yeah, also Chi Harmony has been removed. I'm like, oh, wait a second, I didn't see that in the patch notes. I'm sure it was there on that page, but I would have to find, I'd have to go through each Mistweaver section.
Yeah, it was like 3 builds before or something like that.
Yeah, so what I've been doing today is my God, I'm burning multiple rainforests by doing this because I'm using a lot of resources, but I'm having the AI go through each spec one by one and sort of dig through, isolate, for instance, Frost Decay in the initial post and in every subsequent post.
Okay.
And so that's kind of like, first round,
Yeah.
and then I'm trying to sort of combine everything at once, and just try to have every single change on one page. And I don't know if it's gonna pan out like I'm envisioning, but I mean, I think it's gonna be, if I can get this working, it's gonna be very useful for the PvP community, because they'll have all the information about Midnight, about their spec, on one single page, isolated, without any noise. And of course I'm skipping like the changes that aren't relevant to PvP. Like if it says does not affect PvP combat, I'm skipping that. Or
Oh
and
my
we're gonna, I've told the AI what hero talents and what hero specs are, so it knows that Frostfire is shared between Frost and Fire. Like I'm checking all the boxes here.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, you are training Skynet on how to parse all the patch notes together and extrapolate each class on its own. So you have all of the changes per class, per spec chained together. And in the meantime, you've split an atomic bomb's worth of uranium to power all this.
Yes.
All right.
I might be going crazy in the process too. Who knows?
I'll be honest. Every time I try to look at the patch notes for an expansion, like all the development notes, I go crazy. Like it is, you're not wrong. It is insane the amount of data there, and like
yes.
This ability got removed. This ability got put in. Oh, that ability got removed. Now this ability got put in. Oh, that ability got buffed. Oh, now it got nerfed. Oh, now it changed. So it not even does. It's some completely different ability. And yeah, it's.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Well, I just want to say, if you pay any attention, you should maybe watch Level Added. Level Added. I always
level it in.
Yeah. He did a recent video on YouTube about the state of where he sees the state of PvP for Midnight, and I think he talked a bit about some of the abilities, ability pruning, and how that's affecting some of the specs. So you should check. He's been very trying to put his influence out there and try to help Midnight be better.
Nice, good.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, aside from losing yourself into AI and trying to find yourself again, have you actually had a chance to play the game, or have you just been completely lost in the forums?
I haven't really been playing the beta. Right. I know it was basically unplayable until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I've been kind of loosely
any part of the game, like even retail, have you been playing, or have you just been like punching through notes and making videos?
I've been doing player housing. That's what I've been doing. I love player housing. Yes, I didn't think I'd like it, but I love it. Oh, I'm having a blast.
That is funny. That is funny. Because I thought you were like going to be a hater on it. You're
I thought I was going to be a hater too. Yes, I love it. I'm pleasantly surprised. I will. Maybe this is a hot take. Maybe it's not. I will say player housing is in my probably top 3 things ever added to WoW. Number 1 being Arena, of course. 2 and 3, Solo Shuffle's up there. I mean, maybe not top 3, top 5. Okay. Player housing is definitely in my top 5. Fair. And yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with how fun it is. I'm not happy with how expensive it is. My God. The first week player housing came out, I bought 3 WoW tokens. I never buy WoW tokens, and I bought 3 of them. And I told myself over the weekend, I'm like, I need to chill. Like, no more spending on WoW tokens.
That's funny. Honestly, my guild, as soon as the servers went live, we got the guild master made a guild neighborhood. We'd already pre-planned our plots and everything like that, so there's a bunch of stuff there. I built a house, I put some rooms into it, I kind of played around with the UI a little bit, spruced out the outside just a little bit. Lika randomly showed up in my yard in my house. he was going through his Battle.net friends and checking out all the different houses, and then I was like, I really want to, there's a bunch of stuff I want, and I just want to collect it just so I have it. So then I'm not doing stuff and being like in the middle of trying to build. Oh, I wish I had that, and then have to go find it. So I was like, I'm just going to collect a bunch of stuff. So then I found out, you have to go to bunch of dungeons. So I started running a bunch of those. And then I was like, oh, and professions can make a bunch of stuff. Oh, so I was like going through all my my whole alt army. And then some of them I hadn't leveled up properly because those expansions I just never really did. Like my engineer is missing like a bunch of stuff. My druid was a leather worker and a skinner. And then somewhere in the past, I switched out from leatherworking to something else, and I thought that I could just go back in there's a thing you buy and it gives you back all your stuff, all your recipes and everything, but it didn't do it properly because it didn't fully retro at the time. And I didn't get all my points back, so I don't have any points in some of the skills. So I'm like, and I need like certain skill levels to even like learn the recipes. So I ended up going down this huge rabbit hole last weekend of like just all my alts, running around trying to level up old expansion, different professions, so I could buy and then learn the different things. And some of them are like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, I'm a little bit salty. The one thing I'm salty about is you really needed to like play previous expansions and farm rep and stuff in order to have like the full housing experience, because like I didn't realize how much of the stuff is just gated behind random achievements or random reputations. Like the other day I was like, I wanted this bench from the lore walkers, and I noticed I didn't have any lore walker. Like I played through Mists of Pandaria, but I just didn't do any of the dailies for the lore walkers or whatever. So I have 0 reputation, and that kind of sucks. Like, I understand that it's good for the game that they're kind of getting people out in the world doing stuff again. But man, it's like so much stuff is just gated behind.
But the thing
is, these old
it's
expansions.
evergreen though. Like, I mean, you don't have to have it today. You can get it, and let's be honest. Like right now, it's not even pre-expansion. Like we just have it because we happen to have access because we pre-purchased, right? But there's people that haven't pre-purchased. They're not even going to get their houses until midnight launches, and it's going to go for another full expansion. Like I'm sure they're going to add some more things, but let's be honest. Like this isn't Amazon. We don't need it now.
And the other thing I do like about housing, which is kind of related to what you just said, is like I like how it's like this incremental thing. Like you don't have to one shot it. And of course you build your house and lay out all the rooms, and you kind of have a general idea of what you want your aesthetic to be, and it's kind of cool that you can just develop it over time. And circling back to what you just said, it's like, okay, now I want this bench. Like this would go really nice. Like this is the next thing I want to add to my house. It's just a tiny little bench. Oh, but now I have to go out in the world. Okay, cool. Like, it's like I like that sort of feedback loop. It's like, oh, I want this tiny little thing. Oh, I have to do this task. Let me just do this task. It's nice. It's a nice slow pace of enjoying the game, I feel. Which people complain.
I'm gonna have to create a spreadsheet of like all the stuff I want, how I get it, and then track my progress on it, and I'm gonna have to do it that way, I think, because there's a lot of stuff. I do want to, so I can't remember if I mentioned it last podcast or not, but I put out a tweet a little while ago bemoaning the fact that there are, of all of the almost 2,300 items, 22 are only 22 are PvP related. And they're gated behind PvP achievements. And some of those achievements are not easy. Like there's some skill required for some of them.
There's like a Eye of the Storm one where you have to like cap like 5 towers or something in one one game, like something like that.
And there's one where it's like you have to get a like, I think, was it you have to do so many things without dying. It's just like that's not easy to do in a random BG. Not gonna lie. It's like, you have to be pretty unkillable. Maybe if you're a preservation evoker, you could probably get away with it. Anyway, it's there's I think it was like capping flags or returning flags without dying and stuff. Anyway, so I think there's some really cool ones there. But then I realized that there's only like 4 items or four dungeon and raid achievements, and like none of them are elitist. There's nothing for some super elite stuff. A lot of it's just putting the time in, grinding it out, and you're gonna get this achievement generally because your skill's gonna improve, right? But it's just putting in the work. So I'm kind of curious, how do you feel? Because I remember before when they're talking about housing, how everybody was like, yeah, I want to be able to like, show off my rank, won a title, or like, my duelist, or like any of this stuff. And now I'm kind of okay with it not being elitist, that this is just something that anybody can really do. They just, as long as they put in the grind, like obviously some of it's harder than others, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you want to be able to show off some of your elitist stuff, or are you okay with it being just chill?
I think it would be cool to show off some of the elitist stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Now I could foresee that, there's already that conversation about old elite sets and
Mm-hmm.
transmog. Like this
Mm-hmm.
would create another layer of that conversation, which I am keen to hone in on for engagement on Twitter, by the way. I'm ready to rage bait some people, but in all honesty, like I don't know. I think it's cool. I mean the MMOs have obviously changed over the past decade. Wow, 2 decades. Like WoW has changed a lot. And one thing I still, and we've talked about this plenty of times on the cast, and when it comes to elite sets, is I still think it's cool to have these markers of like elitism, if that's what you want to
Mm.
call it. I like it. Like I like my Wrathful Gladiator's tabard. I'm very proud of it. I think it's
Yeah.
cool. It's unique, and it'd be cool if I could like hang it up in my house. Um, yeah, I think there's probably a good way that Blizzard could do that. It would obviously mean, make some people upset. I get it. I think my bigger gripe, by the way, is the fact that the PvP rewards are kind of boring, if you ask me. Like, I mean, they're cool. They're thematic for PvP, which
Yeah.
I like, but it's like, man, I don't care about having a dueling flag. Like I want something cooler that like a little bit more. It reminds me of the fact that like what are the unique rewards we get as PvPers? Penance. Like, come on. That's like one of the it's cool, but it's like kind of lame at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like I want some cool giant badass Grand Marshal sword I can hang on my wall. I don't want like
Fair.
a flag, that's my biggest gripe.
But in that case, then like then we'd have to have things like Anixia's head or something like that we could dangle from, or like what else what would be the PVE equivalent, right?
Well, I mean, they could have one for every like major boss. You could have like Illidan's Warglaves. You could have, they could.
That's a
There's
lot of
definitely some.
items.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's as you mentioned, it's an evergreen system. It doesn't
Fair.
have to be rolled out over time, all at once. It can be rolled out over time.
Fair. Oh, chat just told me there is Anixia's head.
Yeah, there is already.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, okay. I think I do like the housing has a lot of potential. I think we're going to be hearing about it for years. Um the stuff that I've seen on like the World of Warcraft Twitter has been sharing, or they've been doing on socials, and just other things that people have been sharing around have been absolutely mind-boggling fantastic. I just like I can't believe the imagination of some people and the creativity. It it just boggles my
Yeah,
mind, but it is so impressive. Like there are some amazing creative people out there. I just can't even imagine how they came up with that. Like
yeah.
uh
There's this really. I saw someone was streaming yesterday, and they were building an Alice in Wonderland style house. Like in Alice in Wonderland, she goes through like the rabbit hole, and she goes. The hallway gets smaller, and then she emerges in the tea. At the room with the tea table. It was like
yep.
that. It was like you go through the rabbit hole. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Wow.
Uh,
How did they get it to go smaller? That's
you can.
wow.
So you can.
I know you can scale
They're
things,
doing it.
but I'm just trying to think how they did that in the room.
they were doing it with trees, like, you know how like some of the trees that
Yeah.
kind of bend inwards, like
Yeah.
the branches, and so she was using like the trees at the start of the hallway were big, and then the trees at the end of the hallway were more narrow or smaller.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a way you can scale walls too.
Oh, really? I, I knew you could
Yeah,
scale objects. I didn't think you could scale walls, but that makes sense. That's really cool.
yeah, that's
That's
cool.
crazy. Yeah. I have to ask. I know we participated, but I can't remember if I saw you. Did you happen to Oh, hold on for a second. I have a little thing I have to do here. It is how do I come on. How do I ban you? Dang it. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna have to figure this out later. All right. Trying to do things while I'm trying to type. This is not good for me. I need to stop doing this. Okay. Did you participate at all in the play with the blues at all?
No, I didn't. But I saw Venruki made a video the other day about the Epic BG was the new Epic BG. Was that part of the play with the blues?
Yeah. So, I don't even notice, but I have a little bit of a gripe about this. So, have you seen all like the announcements when they're doing the dungeon testing and the raid testing? Have you ever seen like
Uh,
there's usually
I
like a
don't know.
post either Wowhead. There's usually like so they always put up on they put up on the forums when the stuff's going to happen. But then there's always like some announcements through the news medias that hey we're raid testing is going to be this day, or the pre launch is going to be the pre patch is going to be this day. We have to test it on the PTR, we have to test it on the beta and stuff like that. And so they did a play with the blues for the training grounds one Monday, so it had been the 8th, and then they did a play with the blues just this last Monday for the Epic BG. And I it was a whisper. They put out the forum post, but it wasn't announced further than that. I didn't see a single tweet from Blizzard
Mm.
on it. I didn't see a thing. So, so for the Epic one, yeah, Venriki was doing it. I think Mortai was doing it. So was Dr. Ownlord in our community. He was there too, and there's a few other people that were there. But it was still like a 10-minute queue time at if no, I think one of them was like 20 something minutes or something like that because there wasn't enough people queuing up because it was barely anybody queuing. But yeah, it was a thing. There was nothing in the dungeon journal on how to play the BG. Um, there was nothing like the doors opened, nobody knew what to do. The map had a few things on it, but it was kind of hard to tell what it was. And so the whole thing though is it's like a mixture between Arathi or not Arathi, from Alterac Valley and Ashran. And so there's like
Mhm.
PVE things you do, but when you do the PVE things, so you kill these little mini bosses, it like obliterates your resources and your reinforcements. So like I think when they first
Mhm.
started, it was like 600 people, 600 or whatever, and the next time we went in, it was like 800, and the next time we went in, it was like over 1,000. It just kept like
Oh
increasing
my.
because like you killed a boss and it was like 400 people or 400 resources reinforcements disappeared, and it was like what? It
I
was
heard it was super laggy, right?
yeah, it was. They're never going to fix that. They have the only way they're going to fix that is if everybody gets like uh fiber and the servers are upgraded to like NASA level. I think that's the only way they're going
Like
to fix
what
that.
was the issue? Was it just the scale of people and like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, you take so if you think about it, they have problems even raids. Like you have 20
yeah.
people in a raid against a boss and you have lag. But instead now you have 40v40, so you have 80 people all pushing off buttons which have sparkly effects. And there's data transfer that has to happen all around the world for that. Back to the server, and then the server reports out what the outcome was. Like it's engineering wise, it's really crazy that this even works the way it does and as well as it does. But yeah, it's going to be laggy as f. Like, and there are people they were talking. I think they reduced their graphics down to like 1, and it was still like 17 FPS on like a really good rig, and they were like, "This is nuts." And yeah, it's even if all 40 aren't there, even if it branches down to let's say 30, you're still doing a 30v30 scrum. That's 60 different computers punching buttons and doing abilities that some server has to calculate the outcome of. Like, it's a scale of issue.
Interesting. Yeah, it's kind of weird that, I mean, maybe their ambition was to have like, I mean, they haven't released a new Epic BG in a while, right? Like, it's been,
Nope.
what was Ashran the last one? I
Yeah.
don't even remember. Yeah, so it's been a while, and maybe they're just like, some shareholder meeting. They're like, "Oh, we made this big Epic BG." Like,
Yeah.
that's probably, I can see that kind of being
Mm-hmm.
their idea behind it. But yeah, that's crazy. That
It's a thing. I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is. Like, it's gonna happen, right? You're gonna have the scrum. People are gonna die. You resurrect, and then you run off, and you usually don't have as much lag again. It's always that first battle that always has like a bunch of lag, and you have it in any of the BGs right now. You have it in Alterac Valley. You have it in Isle of Conquest. Like, so of course this is gonna happen in this one. I'm I'm not surprised. I just feel like it's a shame that they put out a brand new BG that has a whole bunch of like it's not very cookie cutter. So to try to figure that out and not have the information is kind of, especially for a play with the blues, is kind of worrisome. Um, and I suspect what's going to happen is that we're not actually going to figure out what it is until the game goes live. People actually get in. There's some testing done, coordination somewhere in the background on forum groups or whatever, and then we'll have some videos. Some people put YouTube videos out to show how it's done. And everybody's like, "Oh, that's how you're supposed to do it." Which, I mean, honestly, is no different than Ashran. Same thing happened with Ashran, right? It's just, I think Ashran was a bit more understood, but I will say it was fun. It was pretty. You can fly in it. You have to. You can't fly by on a regular though. You have to go find. There's little shadow orbs, and when you get to one and you're on your mount, all of a sudden you can get your dragon riding back, or your sky riding, and you can fly. And it's on a timer. So like if like you're in the middle of the air flying, and all of a sudden you run out of the timer, it's like boop, and you're on a parachute and you fall back down to the ground slowly.
nice.
And there's cannons at different strategic points, and there's 2 buttons. One is a fire the cannon, which lobs a big giant ball and hits people for like 70,000 on a 10-second cooldown. And then there's another button that dismounts players. So if somebody's flying by and they're coming in, you can zap them and it'll knock them out of the air, and then they have to ride until they can get. So that's kind of cool. I think the flying part is really cool though. It's the fact that you can do that in Epic BG. It adds that extra nuance to the game. I mean, get around. And it's a big map, so like you cannot go end to end flying. You will fall to the ground somewhere along the way. So I don't know. It was fun though, playing with the blues. I really hope they do it again. I feel like there's some more opportunity needed to test the Epic BG. Oh, one of the things there's a huge conversation that happening was talking about pre-mades and the pre-made communities.
What's happening there?
Well, so nobody saw anybody from what we talked about on the podcast, but there's no representation from any of these Epic BG communities that like to do pre-mades and and overload one side so they can just raffle stomp through an uncoordinated group and feel powerful, right? And so, but there's like no representation. And then apparently a bunch of them showed up in Venruki's stream on his chat for some reason, probably because he said something and somebody said something, and then I think Ruthless Bro, who's the leader of one of the ones I was part of for a while, back in was that back in Dragonflight or whatever. Anyways, he was there for a bit, and that didn't last very long. But there's a lot of conversations about whether pre-mades should be allowed or not, and ideas of hoping that somebody from Blizzard was paying attention to the beta development chat. There's always the global channel for that, so there's some ideas tossed around. It was
Yeah,
yeah.
all my research that I've done into pre-mades and my experience playing against them, like it's definitely something that they need to address. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about the queuing with 4 other people, right? I think that's
No.
totally fine.
Yeah.
But when you queue with a entire raid group of 40 people and they're all that's not PvP, man. Like,
No.
I'm sorry. And
So I'll admit, when I did it, so it was at one point there was like 6 groups of 5 all syncing and pressing Q at the same time. And there's a whole bunch of rules that they were implementing where like people weren't able to zone or anything because that would desync the queues, like, all this different stuff. And it was when it was like 2 groups going into it or 3 groups going into an epic BG, it was a little bit easier, that you kind of were more hopeful that you would win, and it was fun playing with other people for sure, because then you're like your friends and whatnot. But yeah, when you're like 40 people all coordinated on one side going into a group of uncoordinated people, like it's just so one-sided. It's like strolling into a preschool basketball game as an adult and feeling like you're
yes.
powerful because you're slam dunking on toddlers, right? Like, that's kind of how it feels. It's a little. Nah, I actually stopped. I stopped shortly after we made that podcast about it. That episode, I stopped because it was just like, yeah, this is silly. It's not. It's. I think the only thing where it is helpful is only because there's the community on the other side. There's always that other side of the team, right? So if you're on the uncoordinated side against a team of coordinated people, then that sucks. So how do you fix that though, right? Like, if you want to allow for people to, like, if me and you and let's say some other people, we want to make a 5-person party and queue into a BG because it's fun and we want to play together, like how do you allow that but then not allow some community that all hits Q at the same time?
I don't know
Yeah,
what
me neither.
the solution is. Yeah.
I don't.
It's one of those problems in WoW, and there's a lot of problems like this in the game, where it's not necessarily a problem with the game itself, but more a problem with the community and how they approach the game. It's not a game problem, it's a people problem, know. So yeah, I think those problems are particularly difficult to fix. A really good example of that would have been like, before we had solo shuffle, it was very difficult finding partners to queue with. Well, there's an LFG system. In theory, it should be easy to find players with an LFG system, but that's doesn't address the human problem of people being impatient, people being gatekeepy, people being toxic. The LFG does nothing to solve those human problems, right? And so it's the same exact thing with pre-mades. Or a very similar thing with pre-mades.
Yeah, I will say the other thing that Solo Shuffle makes possible that LFG didn't is if you were on, let's say, a C tier class, or let's say you're playing a prot something, and people don't want to play with you because that's it makes it harder for them to win, and really it's their CR on the line. Then you won't have any games. You won't have anybody to play with. Versus, like, if I want to play Vengeance Demon Hunter and in Solo Shuffle, I just press Q and the gates open and everybody in the lobby goes, oh gosh. But I'm having fun because I'm playing what I want to play. I wouldn't be able to do that with LFG.
Exactly, yeah.
One last, so I just want to look at the notes here. You said something about the state of the beta. Were you talking with Venruki and Absurge, or did they talk? And you want to talk about what they said?
Yeah, well, so I was talking to them actually. So you mentioned the video that Leveled made, and
Yeah.
I was planning to make a very similar video, kind of talking about the state of the beta in terms of gameplay, because there's a lot of changes happening at once. There's, the ability pruning, the removal of add-ons, and, maybe some other things. And I wanted to kind of get their perspective on how the game has actually changed in terms of how it feels to play. So I can give you that, but you can go over the sort of the footnotes, Cliff Notes version of that.
I mean, I kind of want to watch your video, buddy.
Well, I haven't made it. I haven't even finished the script yet, but I don't mind talking about it. Because
Okay.
who knows, like this information might change. So we'll talk about healers first. So obviously a lot of healers got many healers got abilities pruned.
Yep.
And DPS got abilities pruned. There's also CC changes. A lot of micro CC got removed. The DR timers got changed. There's only 2 DRs now. And overall, what Absurge was telling me is the pace of the game is a bit slower.
Okay.
Right now, or at least compared to retail right now. If you play retail arena, especially 3v3, health bars are spiking up and down, every single second.
Yeah.
Someone will be at 100%, then they'll be at 30%, then they'll be at 70%, then they'll be at 20%. Like this is how gameplay feels.
Yeah.
Very spiky. You don't have that sort of spikiness on Midnight, at least so far. Health bars kind of are more a gentle push and pull. Not super gentle because some specs still do quite a lot of burst damage, but instead of health bars gradually going down and suddenly going down and suddenly going up, they're kind of more gradual. So like
Okay.
healing is maybe a little bit lower, but also damage is a little bit lower. And you still have to kind of be methodical with how you heal as a healer, but you're not completely stressed like you might be on retail. Also, since there's less micro CC and the DRs have changed a little bit, you do have a little bit more time to play as a healer. You're not in CC, or you're not stuck in CC for as long as you might be on retail. So that was kind of the healer perspective, and the damage perspective is shares a lot of the same things I just talked about. As damage is a little bit slower, which as a damage dealer probably doesn't feel good. As a DPS, you want to move health bars really quick. But at the same time, it means that like maybe mechanics are still really important. Like maybe it's important you land your interrupts at the right times. And there's less micro CC, so maybe you're able to play your character more, and that actually feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
So overall, the general vibe I got from both of them is that number one, Midnight feels for the first time like a completely different game. Going from Dragonflight to the War Within, gameplay didn't change much in PvP. I mean, it did a little bit, but not too much. Also, I mean, they just generally expressed like a feeling that it's fun. Now there are some problems that that are worth addressing. A lot of them are UI related, and a lot of them are like kind of like TBD with UI problems. Of course, Blizzard was meaning to add like some functionality of big debuff, so it makes it easier to see CC on nameplates. That hasn't been like accurately implemented on the beta, at least as far as I know. Maybe someone can correct me. So it's kind of harder to see key information. A lot of specs still have a lot of buffs and debuffs, and it kind of overfloods your frames, and it's hard to see, whether the warrior has recklessness popped, right?
Yeah.
So that's one problem. The other problem, which I'll continue to harp on, is you cannot track any interrupts. There's still secrets, and yeah, as a caster, this just doesn't feel good, or as a healer, not being able to track interrupts. And so that, yeah.
Did Absurge say anything about not being able to interrupt? Because I'm pretty sure most of the healers lost their ability to interrupt, right?
Every healer except for Rest of Shaman,
Yeah.
yes, lost their kick. Which, yeah, I guess that makes it easier to cast, but there's still like a lot of micro disruptions in the game. You know, even though they did remove a lot of micro CC, I mean, there's still, you know, you cast polymorph. There's 5 different things that can potentially stop you. You know,
Yeah.
at any given time. Um, Another problem that I'll just say really quickly for healers specifically is for some specs there's a little bit more, there's a noticeable downtime in your rotation. Let me
Oh.
give you an example. Like Holy Priest, they lost Shadow Word Pain,
Yeah.
which means if you get kicked on Holy, there's not a single button you can press on your bars besides, I guess, Psychic Scream. I mean, you could fear, but there's nothing you can do sort of in the moment when you get kicked as a priest because you lost Shadow Word Pain. And as a pally, maybe you lost Crusader Strike. So it's like,
Mhm.
you know, you're waiting for your Holy Shock to come up. You can't wear to glory yet. Well, you just kind of move your character around, you know, like until you can do something. So some classes kind of have lost that sort of intermediate button, you know, the button that maybe wasn't super high impact, but it's like, well, it kind of smoothed everything out.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know if that's something that you know can be fixed, because it seems like that was kind of a consequence of this ability pruning.
I feel like that's going to get fixed in a future expansion. But that also sounds very classic, because classic was like that, where there's a bunch of classes where if you maybe you're between casts, or there was like something you just there wasn't really anything to do. The only thing to do was move.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and the way they app search explained Midnight to me is it feels kind of more like an older expansion.
mhm.
Um, and both in terms of the pacing and kind of terms of, like, you know, pressing your buttons, which is kind of cool. Playing retail is really exhausting these days because very intense, high APM.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't mind a return to something a little bit slower.
yeah. I like the idea of not having to sit there and just like continually just feel like I'm hit like just typewrite, or not typewriter, but machine gunning my keyboard until ability goes off, and then goes to the next one, and then just keep doing that, until the GCD. Like
Yeah.
if it's like press and then give my finger a rest for a second because it doesn't matter. That sounds good. That sounds like an all right way to play. Let me pay attention to what's
Yep.
happening on the screen. Um,
You know,
hmm,
as far as other things in Midnight are concerned that I don't think I've really looked into, and you know, we haven't talked about too much. I'm assuming the gearing system is probably going to be exactly the same,
yeah,
which is
it
both a
looks like.
good thing and a bad thing. You know, like in my opinion, the gearing system is simple once you figure it out, but I think figuring it out from like a new player point of view is probably a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so
I don't know if we have embellishments. I'm assuming we do. And that whole PvP crafting with embellishments is still going to be a thing. But I'm not entirely. I didn't really pay that close attention to the gearing in beta. Um, and the like obviously there's the max level realm where it's just you go up to a NPC and you buy everything right there, and boom, you have it. So I don't. I'm assuming that it's going to be the same in Midnight. Like where you go to Silver Moon City, and you fly over to there, and there's your PvP vendors with the honor gear, the World PvP gear for the bloody tokens, and your conquest gear, and it's all the same. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be same thing. I, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing them having the PvP gems. So those are going to be there again, which means we're going to have probably the same thing where you have to use so many gems and some honor to make the sockets. Oh no, actually, shoot. I think actually the PvP gear has some sockets in it, but that might have been just for the max level. I'm not sure.
Benergi was complaining that right now on the beta, crafted gear is significantly higher item level than
Yeah.
the conquest gear, and
Yeah.
so if you want to be sweaty, you can get all the crafted gear, but then it's like annoying to get it. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I just, it's 10 item levels higher, I think. So I think the conquest gear scales to 289, and I want to say the crafted is 298 or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and chat is saying that PvP crafted gear has sockets or had sockets, and that some of the PvP crafted stuff is higher than mythic item level.
Ooh, jeez.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if they did it on purpose or if that's an oops. That might be an oops. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. We'll see. That's some spice. If they did that, that's gonna be spicy. You know, like I wonder.
Yeah.
Because it only if it's PvP scaled item, then it doesn't matter really, right?
The, hot take, they should make PvP item level higher than PvE. Like again, because first of all, I like how it pisses off the PvEers. And second of all, kind of like thematic. I don't know. To me, it seems like a bit thematic. Like
Mm-hmm.
your gear that you take to go to war against, is that needs to be the best. You need to have the. Who cares if you're fighting a dragon? What if you're fighting Peekaboo? You
Right?
need
Yeah.
some good gear. He's a killer.
I mean, Shrek took down a dragon with just a helmet and a sword. Like, who needs the full piece of battle armor to take down a dragon? Yes,
Yeah.
I'm a dad.
Come on.
Yeah, I would. On the flip side though, is I still wouldn't feel safe going into battle against Peekaboo wearing like full battle plate armor, because I feel like he'd just open me up like a tin can and slice and dice me inside the armor. So not fun. Uh, we're running close to the end. This has been a fun chat. Did you watch the Weed Tyler's Battleground Blitz, his Schweedle tournament?
I didn't watch it, no, but I
Okay.
donated to it.
Okay, yeah. So did I. All
Was
right.
it what was the format? Was it like a draft, or how did it work?
So instead of having teams sign up with 8 people, it was 4-person teams. And then he went
Oh.
through a bunch of series where these teams were grouped together to make the 8-person be 8-person. And then it was a round robin scoring. So as they went through the series and played against each other in different team formats, then they gained points. And it ended up being oh shoot, I had it and now I forgot it. Where is it? Team Smart something. What was it? Sorry. Right here. Safety Net. Kelvish, Rebsy, Timraz, and Dean. They won with 9 points. So undefeated. Go figure.
Very cool.
Kelvish and Rebsy. Like go figure. Anyway, it was good. I watched part of it. Oh, so it was a spin the wheel for the map, and then teams had a card that they were able to flag to do a respin, and then there was also a chaos card that the lower seeded teams were able. They had the chaos card, and when they played that, then it went to a poll to the chat, and the chat voted on what the map would be. And it was like it was only 5. So out of like however many, they only gave 5 options, and then we had to pick on that. So it was really kind of cool. That unfortunately added to a bunch of downtime though, where they okay, this is the map. Oh no, that's not the map. Oh, and this is the map. Oh no, that's not the map. Okay, we're gonna do a poll. Okay, this map. And then yeah, it's just there's a lot of downtime, but it was cool. It was a really neat format. So huge shout out to Weed Tyler for that, and I hope he does more, because those are great. So, especially since the RBG community is pretty much collapsed on itself because of Battleground Blitz, I think this is all we're going to get now. So,
Well, I'll say this. I appreciate any community tournament, and what I love the most about community tournaments like Tyler's is they like deviate from the norm, right? Like
yeah.
my biggest critique of WoW esports is that it's hasn't changed much. Like the product has not changed much in
Nope.
however many years it's been, like 10 years, you know, even longer. It's like, well,
Which,
there have been some different tournament formats. Like I know in Legion, they experimented with the Swiss,
yeah.
random bracket system. And, there have been sub tournaments with different, eliminations and bans and all these things. But, you know, the standard hasn't changed, and I love when a tournament is like tries to break the norm, does something
Yeah.
unique and cool, and I it's awesome.
I will say the AWC hasn't changed much. The MDI has gone through a few different iterations. The variety show has been fun to watch and participate in. Not that I've participated, but talking to people that have done it, they said they enjoyed that. So, I mean, I think that's there's some options there. I know at the end of this AWC, just like every time they on the AWC Discord, they do a poll and ask for players and viewers to respond to it and give their feedback. And they were asking there, do you still want to see, like, what would you prefer, seeing a 3-person team or a 4-person team? Like, that would be a bit of a shakeup if they went back down to 3 people only per team. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what they do with the data. I suspect it's probably still going to be the same thing though, where it's like, 3 to 4 people. These maps. First map's always in the grand. Loser picks the next map. Announce your comp. Blah blah blah. Like it's all anyway. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, well, not. I'm kind of. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. You have to go back to your AI friend.
Yeah, I have to go crazy again. You almost brought me back to humanity for a moment. Now I'm concerned. I'm lost. I don't know what to do anymore.
So I will say, for funs and giggles, I've been starting to get Gemini to aggregate the forum posts for the last week. So they'll give me like the top 5 of what's been going on in the different Reddits and the official forums, and report it back to me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You see, your Kenny is somewhere in your computer right now. Like little Kenny, he's everywhere on the forums. He's probably in AI knows who Kenny is now.
Indeed. So fun fact is actually it mentioned the skill cap videos. It's like, yeah, talking about how the number of class reviews have been going and whatnot. But they were, and I did this a few weeks ago, but again, it was all about Marksman Hunter and like just crying for nerfs to Marksman Hunter because they're just so oppressive to play against. It's I don't know. I do you think we're gonna actually, one last question, do you think we're gonna see nerfs before Blizzard goes on Christmas break? Because I think that's it basically have till this weekend. What do you think?
I don't know, man. I thought there was going to be nerfs for the past, or changes for the past like 4 weeks. Because okay, we had Thanksgiving in the U.S. and I was like, okay, sure, that's an excuse. Like, that's understandable. No tuning on the week of Thanksgiving.
Yep.
But then I was like, okay, what about next week? Nope. Okay, what about next week? Nope. It's like, what's going on? Who knows?
Yep. No changes. And yeah. Okay. I'm actually concerned. I think I'm starting to feel like what we have now is what we're going to have until March.
Yeah, It's, I mean, we'll find out in 2 days. Find out on
Always be
Friday.
always be surprised. Always surprised on Fridays. We'll see. On that though, instead of being surprised, why don't we tell people which they already know and list off where they can reach us?
Ooh, I was not ready for this, but I can do that right now. You can contact us directly on X at technically_PvP or on Blue Sky at technicallypvp.bluesky.social or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
Indeed. And you can also visit the Bonus Roll website where you can find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows over at www.bonusroll.gg. And in that directory, there's a review system. So head on over there, tell people what you think of your favorite shows, including ours. On that, I'm not going to have any links to the show notes because I don't think there's anything to link from what we talked about. But hey, if you want, head on over to ChatGPT, Gemini, or whatever your favorite AI is, and ask it to summarize the past weeks of PvP discussions out there, and you might be pleasantly surprised by the outcome of it, or maybe not. Anyways, that's the end of it for this show. Well, thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Hi, guys.